Hey, right, so we're coming in now and excellent. Well, hi everybody. Good to see you. Say hi in the comments so I can see where you're from and see who's there with us. And it's good to see you. And yeah, I haven't done a Facebook Live for a little while, so it's great. And I'm really excited to welcome my good friend, actually, and colleague Amaya. Hi, Amaya.
Hello, how are you?
Oh,
Thanks for
great to see you.
inviting.
Oh, of course. Well, of course, we got connected through the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society. That's how we first get connected, really. And then my husband and I, Kieran, we had the joy of meeting you over in Mallorca
Yes.
and spending some time with you there. And your kind of passion for the things you really are involved with, May, it's just so infectious.
Yeah.
And so it's just great to share things. Hi, Nicola. Okay, people coming in. Hi, Nicola. Good to see you. And so there's quite few bits and bobs for us to talk about today.
hmm
I think the Royal the Raw Feeding Veterinary
Fitting.
Society is a good place to start. So you're the president.
Yes. Yes.
Um, Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about your role and also about the organization and what it's doing.
Well, the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society started with motivated vets that wanted to talk about species appropriate nutrition and educate other people, to learn and also to learn more about the studies behind it, because when you start digging you start finding out, not only in the animal world, also in the human world, that the less processed the food the better, right? So, and at the same time that we have to treat our animals as they are. If they are carnivores, they have to eat meat. So, and then you find an extensive amount of research about, especially about the physiology, about how it affects behavior, how it affects everybody. So the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society, what it wants is to create this kind of community, share the information they find, and promote raw feeding. But in the beginning, we felt like we were kind of pushing, into the. But now, what we are trying to do is, if you have doubts, if you want to learn about it, just come with us, and we'll help you out to answer your questions. So I became president in 2022, and I'm gonna be one more year, but we are actually restructuring, and then after me the presidents go back to a year only. So yeah, we're doing some changes, but yes, I've been working a lot with this idea of being more friendly, more open to different types of foods, because there are some other animals that will prefer or will be better on cooked foods, even though we think that raw food is kind of the best to absorb into the body. It's easy to metabolize and everything. Some animals, due to their unique things, they may go better on cooked foods or other lightly processed foods. So we are trying to study what are those differences. We are now a lot into microbiome as well, and we are learning that there is a lot of connection between behavior and nutrition. So from now on we are looking into talking about each disease and how nutrition is connected to it, because we believe that everything is on the microbiome, everything's on the physiology and the species that we're talking about. So that's how RFVS it's been doing the past 10 years.
Yeah, so a few things I just want to ask about that before we move on to I kind of home in on cats a little bit. Um, uh, I came along to the conference in Wales and had a chance to listen to some of the other speakers there, and it was a really remarkable event for me. My husband came as well, as you know, Kieran came along as well, and just to hear how everything was being put across, really, there was a big emphasis on the microbiome for sure. And of course, that's a bit of a game changer, I think, more generally when we think about nutrition, humans, the matter of the species, because we're understanding the role of it. And actually, it makes sense, right? Because the body has to create things, has to repair itself, it has to, fight defenses and look at diseases. It doesn't pull those things out of thin air. It has to get it from the stuff that comes in and makes use of that stuff. So it makes sense.
Exactly. The fuel.
Fuel, exactly. And what I loved about the delivery of all the speakers was just how nuanced and quite neutral the education was. It wasn't kind of you must do this or you must do that. It's like, look, here's the evidence, and it was provided on a spectrum really of understanding and recognition, and the changes that you can make even in a small way to thinking about things. And I like the reference to moving towards the term real food. And how important that is even for us as a species to understand that, because we've just fallen more and more into more reliance on processed foods. And bearing in mind, a lot of things are processed. Processed itself doesn't mean bad, because it's even something that's been, well, cooked is a process, isn't it? I think that's the key. So tell me a little bit more.
Freezing is a process.
Sorry?
Freezing is a process.
Exactly. The thing that from what I picked up from some of the speakers was the notion of ultra processed.
Exactly.
Almost where all the goodness is taken out to the point they have to put some back in again.
That's the thing, and we have this NOVA kind of indication of how processed the food is. The ABCD that we have on our food, that comes from how many processes they are in there. But even if if you cut it, you freeze it, or you clean it, that anything can be a process. The problem is where this process starts to change the composition, the for example, they are talking a lot about high pressure foods, right? High pressure foods, we don't know, because we haven't, well, at least not at my current knowledge. We know that any kind of process can affect the way the protein is. So if it has this shape, it can shift the shape. And some people will say, okay, but what's the problem with that? The thing is that we don't know how this can affect the absorption of that protein, or the effect that has on the body. So for me, it's impossible to be in this hard truth. We know that real food is the kind of the future, and we're going to always advocate raw in a way, but it's a real food. It's trying to go back to the ingredients that we can tell, we can give, trying to put it as species appropriate as we can, and then move from there and try to find all the research that it's lacking.
And there seems to be a lot more happening with animals in that sense than humans, and I guess that makes sense to a point, only because who would want to finance necessarily research for humans when there's so much? I think one of the speakers said that something like 60% of the food in the supermarkets is provided by 3 companies pretty well, with all their different subsidiaries underneath. So they're not particularly motivated to look at what might be happening with those different things. But again, it makes sense. The more we learn, this is why I think the microbiome and more understanding of that is the game changer. Looking at almost from the back end in, so to speak, because it's giving us an idea about what these changes might be doing to that very, very delicate balance that goes on within our tummies.
Exactly. And the other thing, that this is something we are looking at in our own speech, right, is to say that health, what are we normalizing on health, right? We don't know exactly what is to be healthy. So how can you be sure that this raw food is better than the other one? My cat lived 18 years with kibble, and nothing happened. Okay, this is the thing. We have normalized certain things into health that we cannot really tell what is actually being healthy. And for me, it would be that your body is good enough to wake up in the morning, don't need a coffee to wake up, right? And you can go the full day. You can poop regularly and do all the things regularly, right? Have good skin, good hair, all the things that you would look in a dog, right? Have a good sleep, have a non-stressful life, not bloating, not anything, and when you realize that all our pets have that, when you start looking, and then how weak are we on our immune system, because we we have a pandemic and we have no idea how to defend ourselves, or what natural ways to defend ourselves until a vaccine can be made, or anything else. We don't have resources because we have learned to live in this normalized unhealthy ways. And nutrition is the big part of it. Then it's a lifestyle, and then it's the other things. So we have to, if you don't look it for yourself, you can look it on your pet and see what happens.
Yeah, and of course, I've had a lot of clients myself. I'm talking dogs specifically, but where we've changed diet because for various reasons, and and in that study of one dog, you see the shifts. But do you know what? You and I have discussed this ourselves off air with our own kind of health challenges and stuff about how it's kind of given us a reflection on our own what we input and our own nutrition. I know for me, I've gone down a very much a kind of anti-inflammatory style diet, and I've seen the difference.
Me too.
And I think this is the challenge. I think with any type of thing, whether it's physical health in this way, thinking about nutrition and its effects, because it's so multifactorial, isn't it? All these different layers, all these different things. Because obviously, there's other things. It's our kind of lifestyle, it's our culture, it's our genetics. All these other things come into it. But I think that's why it's hard for necessarily to pinpoint something, as you say, to say that's the thing.
Exactly. It's really difficult.
It's quite common sense, though, I think, when we think about it, about what we're putting in. And I know from my human psychology days, there's a lot of evidence around junk food, changing kind of mental outlooks, more likely to have pessimistic outlooks, more likely to have more elements of depression, and that's probably because of the inflammatory side of things that happens with a lot of the ultra processed foods. And just by changing diet, people can increase their move to a more positive outlook. And we've known that for quite a while. And this is a challenge, isn't it, for us humans? I saw something only on the news a couple of days ago, actually, that even though we know more about healthy eating and healthy lifestyle, we're having a big uptick in people with chronic illnesses. So the two things are matching. Within the veterinary world, then, I know one of the roles really for the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society is to educate anybody who really wants to have that support, but to support the veterinary community, especially to understand nutrition more. What's happened there within veterinary, do you think? Do you think there is more of a shift now where they're thinking, yeah, maybe nutrition is something we need to focus in on more, not just kind of treating the symptoms, if you like, looking more at the causations?
I would like to say yes, but no, I don't think so. I think of course, there are some exceptions, but in general, I still think we are pushing the same, same medications, the same protocols. Still, it's generalized. We are not looking at individual medicine. We are not looking at the lifestyle. We simply know protocols that we need those as well, but it would be much better if we take on the idea of, well, all the psychology that you mentioned. For example, you say that you know this for quite a while now, right? So a few weeks ago, I went to an ethology class, and the guy was saying that they just recently found out that certain emotions, how to deal with emotions, that you have to bring support and you have to do certain things. And I was like, we've known this for a long time in the human world, and now you're saying that this is important here. So the same thing goes with I've seen some vets changing their minds, especially when they have a really difficult case and they have a very committed guardian that would go and say, I want you to figure this out. But usually it comes from the guardian to push and ask for more, or looks for another vet. But it's difficult to normalize this situation because I don't think we're prepared to do so.
And do you think that's why when we think about certain health conditions and then the vet might prescribe a prescription diet, which is designed more, I'm guessing, to not trigger symptoms than necessarily to support a better immune system, microbiome, or health system to counteract it, because the two things are different, aren't they?
Exactly.
I guess the first one's easier to evidence-based from I know what this will do to you. And that's something similar in the human psychology world, I think, sometimes, or general any kind of behavioral science or any type of science, I suppose. It's not allowing the unmeasurable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what happens for me, because we don't want to be as vets in this professional world, to be mistaken or make mistakes. But the problem is that, and I tell people this a lot, is when you talk to your vet, remember he's human, right? He just went to a different school than you did. That's it. But in the end, it's human. The problem is that we are so pushed to do things in a certain time that you don't have the time to explain yourself and do, why am I proposing this idea to you? And usually it's easier to put patches, go around and say, okay, this prescription diet. When people ask me, is this going to work? And I say, yes, it's going to work. It's not the best for your pet, but it's going to work because it's been designed to do so. Okay, so the symptoms are going to work, but you cannot give urinary care kibble for forever, because it says in the bag no more than 6 months.
Yeah.
So you are reducing magnesium. You're doing other things that the cat needs because he's stressed, and he needs that magnesium to not be stressed because he's already losing it. So kind of this idea that we just keep putting patches and not solving the underlying issue, it's what it takes time, and this is not profitable. And this is the problem. We are having more corporate vets. We are having less time for consultation, and we need to deliver results. So you're left out to say, just do this and that, and instead of taking the time. My consultations take an hour, and I prepare them previously, and then I give you a report just in case you haven't listened all that I said to you. I just want to make sure. This is the way I make sure that what I said.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because this is a bigger picture thing, I know, but I think especially here in the UK, where we have free healthcare for humans, which is great, and I've definitely experienced the benefits of that myself recently. The downside to it really is that you don't necessarily value care from a monetary point of view about what it actually costs. A drug that I've received recently, I was talking to somebody online who's had it in America, and they have to pay for it, or the insurance does, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. It's like the tens of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, I know. There, yeah.
And I think so that's why there's the drive then to make it very price sensitive, the care that you get at the vets, without thinking about actually what's the true value of this, having longer consults, being able to look at things. So it's no wonder that we end up in a situation where things are often just treated symptomatically without necessarily joining the dots up. And nutrition, as we are seeing more and more from the evidence, and there's a lot of it.
There's a lot.
You had the wonderful Dr. Matthew Muir at the conference, who's kind of plugged into the matrix, I think, because he was just having all this stuff that he was sharing on screen, and it's really compelling. And actually, by shifting the focus slightly, and especially with your interest on these things, you get the longer term benefits and the longer term better outcomes.
Exactly, but it's a risk. You have to explain it to the guardian that you are going to, you are into a process. We are not trying to fix, because if you need fixing, it's good to have patches sometime, but we are into a process, and you have to understand that this process will have ups and downs, and it's normal.
So what do you think is the way that we need to move forwards then to try and shift that focus? How do we bring the public along with that, and vets indeed?
Well, I think we should push to have a conversation with our vets, because if you tag and trigger that passion for animals that they still have down below having that stressful work, you may get a good response. And if you don't, my advice is just don't have one vet. Have vets that are specialized in different things that you may need in the future. For example, you will have a trauma, like you have in humans. You have an ophthalmologist, you have a digestive one, or you have, I don't know, whatever you want. But just have different vets the holistic, the conventional, the one that's going to, you know, save your pet's life for urgency. Don't fall in love with clinics, fall in love with vets that you like and you trust, and you know that maybe there might be a little bit reluctant at the beginning, but if you keep having these conversations and bring the things and you trigger into the passion, then you'll find some results sometimes, I'll say.
That's a really important point, isn't it? I think it's a really powerful one as well. And we need more resources to empower the general public, especially to know how to advocate as well, I think, more for their animals, and to I love that, you know, don't fall in love with the practice, fall in love with the vet. And I think make those connections. It can be tricky sometimes. I know, and supporting my clients, I always try and find a clinical lead at that practice for that dog. But it's tricky sometimes when there's more kind of temporary vets and that kind of thing.
But you can get an online, for example, like me or like Nick or like different other vets that are around, and have your support on other vets that actually deliver that. So that's usually the client I get. The client I get has its conventional vet, and they ask me, should I do this or not? You know, they have a consultation with me because I'll explain the things that the vet didn't, but I don't have the machines to do the procedures that they done. So it's kind of a combination there.
And it's quite a good combination, actually, because I think, you know, the vet in practice, they might have the kind of traditional 10-minute slot, where it does have to be a little bit kind of symptomatic approach.
Yeah.
Having these online consults, and I've got several vets that I refer my clients to, actually, to go online because they have more time. They can look at the information that's given. They can't see the animal directly, for sure. It does mean then that they can empower that client to go back to the vets and say, right, with this time with Dr. whoever and their speciality. And actually, I don't know any of the vets that I've had that connection with, as in the in-person vets, who hasn't really appreciated that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's giving them something to go on. They can evidence-based now. And now, like you said, that kind of real tingling of investigatory, you know, kind of going on a mission to kind of detect that, being a detective.
I need to know.
And now you feel you can, because somebody else like you online has done a lot of the hard work and joined some dots up and think maybe this, maybe that.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the online work. I do miss touching animals and playing with them a little bit more, but in the end, I like this online work because I have the time.
Yeah,
and it's good. Yeah.
So let's bring on to your other passion then. Of course. So you're a vet. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, actually, just so people know. You're not. And obviously you've got an interest in the real food side of things and how we can look at that side of stuff. And but cats are
my true passion. Yeah.
Your true passion. And Feral Vet for Cats is your business.
Yes.
And you do a lot of work supporting vets and actually supporting cats. And when we first got chatting, I think it was when we met in Mallorca, actually.
I think we had a long conversation there.
Long talk here, and we had a bit of talk about Dolly Parton, I think, as well. Dolly Parton, so he had his moment. But I was sharing about my kind of outlook on dogs, and you were sharing yours with cats, and they were just so similar, really.
It is
learning about the cat and the richness they give us. And you've got this quote on your website, which I love, and I want us to start with this. Actually, we can build from this. Your cat is an opportunity to transform your life. Which is an invitation. Is like there's a window to something special here through your cat.
Yes.
Relationship with them. So let's expand on that. Talk about that.
Okay. The idea is that it is this quote comes from my own journey because I was afraid of cats. At the beginning, but it was a cultural thing. Usually, most people that don't like cats never had one. Right, so you are afraid, you think they're unpredictable, they're so small but they can be so aggressive, and then you look at the and all the incidents, people trying to rescue cats and they got all scratched, and so that kind of thing, you just build up your an idea in your mind that that's not exactly what it is, and then you start living with them, and I would say that I became a better vet, a better singer, a better person. And I started a journey with them just because first of all, I adopted an aggressive cat. So when this cat came into my life, I was kind of, oh my God, what do I do with him? Because I haven't learned, I did my specialty in cats, but then that's not the same thing as living with an aggressive cat, It is completely different. You don't learn these things in school. And what I realized with time is that he was asking me to be present in the present moment. He was asking just that, because otherwise he will be triggered into his own fears. So we were two people afraid of each other, right? And once I started being present, I did practice this a little bit before this cat, but I was practicing in Buenos Aires, and this man, that my teacher said something about cats are not unpredictable. They are telling you so many things in so many different ways. You just don't see it because they are subtle. And when they are fed up, they'll just going to scratch you, and they have, special knives and everything to do it. So, and they're fast. They're really, really fast. So you think it's unpredictable, but the thing is that you haven't been present all along. And when you start being present, you realize that that's kind of the way. And that is what transforms your life. Because once you're present washing the dishes, you're present with your diet, you're present with your life, your work, your everything. And every time you make a choice for your life, as a good choice for your life, your cat will improve. And that's what happened with my cat. And the last thing, and I keep doing this, 12 years, after 12 years, that's the age of my cat now, we moved to Mallorca. It's a quieter place. It's a really nice lifestyle. And he's even more calm than he was in Madrid. And he was already fixed, let's say. And now he's even calmer. He's even nicer. He adapts. And now you can tell the details of how he adapts into the new things, new people. And this is because, I keep choosing good things for my life. Maybe saying to myself that I'm doing it for him or whatever other reason that we want to create, but I'm transforming my life and he's transforming his. So it's kind of a journey that you start together. And a cat that it's indoor will always share that energy for the good and the bad. So you have a mirror that won't release that energy anywhere, because a dog can go to the beach and outside and have a fun time, but the cat won't. So they'll show you your darkness all the time. It's no escape.
I love this because this thing about you having to understand him, and be present enough to process that.
Yes.
If you were yourself dysregulating or being a bit dysfunctional at the time, or stressed, or doing other things, it's really hard to be present to do that. So I love this notion of the fact that, okay, I need to be more present. I need to be more aware here, because I don't want to get those knives on me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I need more. So I've got to work stuff out here. And it's something that, a lot of people share from the dog side of things. You hear Sindor
Same
talk,
thing.
and others, who talk about these things, Penny, and Sarah Fisher, and lots of other people. This thing about being present, and also about the animals really recognizing the quality of your presence, the quality of that. It's important.
Exactly.
I love this. And also, it's a form of co-regulation, really, isn't it? It's a form of thinking, right, I need to be aware of my own regulatory state so I can be more available to yours.
Yes, and now you mentioned about dogs. The other day, we were on a rescuing a dog, and he was going to go to adoption and everything. And they were a bit afraid. And I said, "Look, I am an expert in cats, but let's try." Because I'm not afraid of dogs. And then she said, "Oh, you have a really good hand with dogs." And I say, I'm less confident because I haven't been working with different aggressive dogs, but I apply the same things I did with cats.
Well, for sure. I think, you know, when we have a situation where we're around another nervous system that is struggling, there's only three outcomes really. Either we ignore that whole situation, right?
Yeah.
And we've gone by, if you like.
No cope. Yeah.
Or our own nervous system responds to that nervous system. And in human psychology, we call those conflict cycles.
Yes.
Or we think, right, I'm going to try and see if I can support this, or at least not let it escalate, you know. And that invariably is where we start to learn about the slowing down thing, you know, and about the holding space for a bit, and you know, definitely becoming very humble in the moment. Because I think the moment we think, oh, I know better than the cat, or I know better than the dog, or I know better than the other person,
no, you're lost.
We're going to have some problems there.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting you mentioned that, because I don't have a cat, but when we were on holiday in Mallorca, interestingly, because Kieran just attracts wildlife, he's like Mary Poppins. He picked the wrong cat, basically. He'll tell you about this next time he speaks to you, I'm sure. But he picked the wrong cat, and seeing how Kieran had to learn very quickly about that cat to even get. This is down in Polenta by the Pine Walk down there.
Oh yes.
So, as you know, only go one way. You've got to go back.
Yeah.
Get back. And this cat remembered him from the first time along. So it's just interesting to see. And I just think we all have it in us, I think, if we allow ourselves to hold that space a little bit, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And not just trying to look. I know that all the knowledge you can get will help for you to feel more confident, but in the end, is your common sense. It's trying to relax a little bit. It's like when you're trying to argue with somebody and start shouting. That's not going to go anywhere, you know, unless you calm down and breathe. And if you're not breathing, there's no way you process emotions. So you need to stop and say, okay, this is happening. And for example, if you have an aggressive cat, like I dealt with a lot of them, but for example, one time I had a very bad situation with the cat attacked me. I just throw the cat, close the door, and calm myself down. Because if I wanted to act, you know, with that adrenaline drive, I would not, you know, I'm sure I was going to be, you know, reactive or doing so. I just stopped. And when I was calm, the cat came out the room like, what happened? And it's weird how, you know, it can shift from one moment to the other, just if you allow yourself to process that information or protect yourself from your own fears if you need to. So I like to talk about aggressive cats, because that's kind of the way you can see the extreme, right, of a situation. But we have smaller things, and I see this a lot on internet, that about cats that are reacting, and they say that it's funny, and you know they go like this, they jump around and they are nervous, and all I'm seeing on those videos is not something funny. What I'm seeing is an anxious cat not being well fed, because you can tell by their body shapes they're not being well fed, they're not emotionally well, but they are not aggressive enough. So nobody pays attention to them, and until you have that incident, until something really bad happened, those knives are in your head or somewhere where you care. And this is why I like working with them, because they're a really good example of how bad it can go if you don't work on your relationship with your cat.
Yeah. Do I hear that? Because I specialize in working with aggression with dogs.
Yeah. That's
you know, half of them are kind of reactive, if you like, and
yeah.
so there's a good proportion who are potentially quite dangerous, actually, and they've gone through that process. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because as long as there's no kind of victim at the end of that behavior, how often they get overlooked, or they just get chastised, or they just get laughed at,
Exactly.
until they go over a line and then they have to do something. And then that will often trigger that other nervous system, and you end up with the conflict on both sides then, because it's a battle of wills. And sadly, especially in the, I don't know, it's like in the cat world, but in the human world, there's a big proportion of aversive trainers who reckon they're the only ones who can handle these dogs now, because you have to be that. You have to.
Oh yeah, you have to be the man.
They have to learn a message, that it's whatever. And in fact, that's an animal who's deeply screaming out that they don't feel safe and they need to feel heard. And I know we see the same in the human kind of population, really, especially when, it's interesting how we see, especially young, say, offenders, especially sympathy, until they get to a certain age, now throw away the key.
Yeah.
With any understanding of where that
started.
Kind of, that's come from, and what occasion. So within the cat world, do you have the same kind of friction between those who just want to treat cats quite aversively, from even professionally, giving that kind of advice, or is it because of the nature of the cat that most of the advice out there is more supportive and positive, even though it might not necessarily be positive for the cat necessarily?
Exactly. That's
is it because there's a slight difference there as well, isn't there?
Yeah. I would say that it's more positive, that we don't have that chastising, because cats won't allow it simply because of that. But we do medicate them more. We use a lot of medication to calm your cat, because it's stress. I cannot take it to the vet. So in the end, the cat, it's ruling the house. It's stressful for you. It's stressful for the cat. Nobody's happy in there, right? But again, we normalize that that's what is having a cat. And what I'm trying to invite people is to say, there is a whole level of having a cat that you haven't seen, and this is what you should be tapping on, because this can actually improve your other relationships. It can improve everything, because cats do give you a lot of unconditional love, but it's not with attachment. It doesn't have any attachment. So they can, give you all the love, just run away and go to another house and forget about it for a while, and they come back if you're worth it, of course. But in the end, how do we approach that is that we keep them indoor. If you keep them indoor, there's no possibility for them to escape. So some people would, what they do is close doors and everything, but it's all in the positive ways, because of the cat. If you try to spank the cat or use a collar or something like that, the cat will attack you. He doesn't have that service motivation that a dog will have. But other ways, they are. I've seen certain areas that are neglected. For example, nutrition, that it's one of them. And not only the food, is how you feed them. It's how to live with a cat, and what is normal or what is not. And when you say positive things like free stress clinics, they end up sedating the cat and using medication instead of actually. I haven't seen, not even in ISFM, I don't see a real protocol or a real thing that you can do that it's individualized and it can work on your pet's the relationship with your cat. They all talk about home enrichment and what you should do, and but that's not enough. It's about something with the relationship that you have to fix, and nobody speaks about it.
And is that about learning more from your cat about their own kind of sense, kind of safety on their terms, if you like, communication as a two-way side of things, finding out times when they are wanting to be more present with you? Is it about finding all those subtleties then?
Yes, in a part it is. And also, for example, dogs are more into communities, into groups, right? They are social animals, and they like to be gathered in groups and stuff. But cats can be in groups, but also they are very individual. So I'm with you because I choose to, not because I have any sort of service or obligation at all. So in a way, you have to earn it, right? And how you earn it is not about focusing on what I want to say. Oh, does my cat love me or doesn't love me or that? No, it's about, am I present? Am I well with myself? Am I a person that energetically somebody wants to be around me? So if your cat gets close to you, it's because you are. And that's the relationship you have to build. Forget about all the other things and how should I pet a cat? You will know. Once energetically you know yourself and you know that the cat is actually asking to be with you, that's the thing. You don't ask anymore. Don't ask if they love you or any of your own deficiencies of love or emotional deficiencies you have or traumas. Forget about it. Just enjoy that moment, because probably the cat has also their own deficiencies or their own emotional lack, I would say. So just enjoy that you are at that moment with your cat, and that's all they are asking for.
So it sounds like that, if you've ruled, especially with your kind of specialty, working with the more aggressive cats. Well, if you ruled out kind of physical stuff like we have to with dogs, I guess, that they're not in pain or they're not struggling somewhere else.
Yes.
From what I'm hearing you saying, then often it is relational. Then there is something that isn't quite right just in that middle bit there. And also, I'm guessing when we think about being social, even for us as a species, it's quite challenging and quite difficult to take it for granted. People might have heard me use this as an example before, but if you're not feeling very well, if you're already anxious about something else, if you've got something else on your mind, you don't have the bandwidth to be sociable. Particularly, you'll go to that party, you will ignore your friends in the town or whatever because you don't have the bandwidth. And I should think for cats, especially where being the social bit isn't necessarily the top of the list of stuff. There's other things they've got to tick off first. Then they can do the social bit.
They have to feel safe in their environment, safe in all, and not only territorially speaking. They should feel safe everywhere because we don't realize that when they are eating, when they are using the litter box, when you walk around the house, if you make any noise, the music you put, the scents you put, anything, if they are not allowed to go out and release and have the opportunity to leave, if they don't like the situation going on, then it's kind of a prison. So they have to manage and tick all those safety nets first and see how they do it, and then have a social ability up. So imagine, and this is why they are now saying in ISFM, they are saying that they are looking at too many depressed cats. It's not that they are depressed, it's that the food is bad and they live kind of in prisons unless they have the option to go out. So this is kind of the thing, we have to look after cats, or when they throw stuff out like that.
Great timing.
Yeah.
But it all makes sense. I know you've said to me before about how important it is learning from the cat about how they want to manage their environment, how they need to transcend their environment, and how much they like heights and different kind of textures within the environment. And but again, it's not a one size fits all. So some cats have different preferences. And that sense of relief the cat must be, if they think, actually, I can navigate this space. I just need to be higher up.
Yes,
that's a relief. Now I can tick that box. All these kind of things are really, really important.
Yeah. Home enrichment is really important, but it's not all. It's not like not everything is pheromones. Not everything is home enrichment. You are a big part of that, and we have to take that responsibility and humbleness as well, because we don't know what we are doing with ourselves. So you're doing your best.
This is key, isn't it? Because like you say, I think, like you say, enrichment is important. It's an important aspect. I think you can fall into the trap, same with dogs, of course, of thinking, I provided the enrichment because I read in a book that I need to have a shelf on the wall there.
Yeah.
But if the cat has kind of been telling you, I kind of feel safer over there.
Exactly.
It's just learning, isn't it? Those different things to try and get it right, and waiting for the feedback and building those things up. And I think what's really important, it's a passion for me for sure with dogs, is it's letting the animals behave.
Totally.
Not looking at every behavior as something you've got to shut down or change or modify all the time. Just think, okay, what's the feedback from this? What are you telling me from this? And if it's a bit ouchy towards us, then the feedback's still telling us something, isn't it?
Exactly, and this is, it's a good thing that you brought this up, because my cat doesn't know how to call your attention otherwise by using his mouth. So if he wants to tell you something, he will go like this. But in the beginning, it was like this, and now it's kind of and he looks at you like it's this bad. So, but I allow him to be like this because that's the way he is, and that's what he learned. And I don't know, I you cannot give them other ways to give. Another cat could teach them, because actually my cat learned how to meow thanks to another cat I had. So they learn from each other a lot, and they keep learning. But if nobody tells them, actually, he's teaching the other cat that to give me messages the same way, because he knew, and this is the thing, he's teaching how to the other one to be a little bit reactive, but in the end they're trying to communicate. They're not trying to hurt you.
No. And in a way that's comfortable for them sometimes, as in, this is kind of works for me, and it feels comfortable for me. And there's a lot of things, there's a saying in human psychology, there's a difference between what we're taught and what we learn. Because of course, the notion of teaching others, there is an element there of, I who knows must teach you that does not. And of course we feel that through school, we need to have some of that learning, but we're also learning ourselves about how do I feel about this though. And I think when it comes to safety especially, we have to be more humble and think, well, maybe the cat knows stuff too, how they need to live, how they need to feel safe, and that's what we need to learn.
Exactly, because we don't apply it to ourselves. We don't apply how to be safe. I've been on my personal journey trying to be more social, or not say more social, because I've always been social, but in a healthier way. I had to learn that I needed my space, and sometimes I could say no to somebody and say, look, I don't want to meet you tonight because I just rather be in my house. And we are always in the social commitments that even if you're too social, sometimes you need your space. So if it's easy, if it's not easy for us to understand for ourselves because we want to be loved, it's hard to see it on an animal, but the animal actually knows better in that regard. They know what they need, and they need to satisfy that. And we just need to listen. Well, if we don't listen, they'll end up somatizing all the things and creating diseases. So,
and this is where it brings us right round to what we talked about at the top of the conversation. Really, what we're learning more and more about stress, its role on physiology, especially social stress, social rejection. All the latest studies now on how when our system feels that we are socially isolated or that we can't connect properly socially, our inflammatory system gets dialed up, and our immune system, if you like, to kind of common bugs, if you like, gets dialed down because the system's so it's no wonder that we see all the statistics about people with chronic loneliness and poor health and all this kind of thing. And remember, you can be around 20 people and still feel lonely if you feel socially unsafe and a social disconnect. And I think that's a thing that we have to be mindful of with our animals.
Exactly. Totally. And otherwise, this sickness, this is why I think sometimes that if we don't take care of ourselves or transform our lives, let's say, we are going to get the same diseases this is something I've been looking at, and Matthew would say the same thing, that most of his clients are people with the same disease as their dog or as their cat. And this is the thing, we are not healing ourselves, and we are not allowing the cat to help us to heal ourselves, because we think we know better, or or anything else, or we are just not there. But this is an opportunity. If you find that you have a cat with an illness, try to see the emotion behind it. Try to look at that. Try to learn about it, even if you don't know exactly where you're tapping into. Just allow your common sense to flare up, and give it a chance, right? And ask for help if you don't find it. But that's kind of the tip. And try to say, okay, I sit down. I always tell people this: when they start worrying a lot with their cats, I say, sit down with them and frankly speak to them. And I say, I really don't know what I'm doing. Just be honest, because they're not going to judge. So just allow yourself to say, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to try to do my best. And I'm sorry if something doesn't go the way it should be. And if you have that conversation, suddenly you'll relax. Suddenly, you will have ideas, or maybe you would know who to ask, but you need to have that conversation with your animal. It doesn't matter if it's cat or dog, but I think cats sometimes will listen because they are like, mm-hmm.
Do you love this? I think because what you're saying there is an important part, I think, of trying to support people's awareness more.
Yes.
Because we're all being conditioned into having to behave and conform, and to somebody said to me once when they heard me give a talk, she said, "Oh, I get all that." She said, "But it's like I say to my children, you can feel what you like, but just don't talk about it or don't show it." And I think, wow, was that how you were brought up as well? Because a lot of people feel so. What you're talking about there is giving people permission to see beyond the behavior and to kind of sit with it and to hold that space and to try and work things out with the animal. This is the most damaging thing for me about the aversive way of working, especially with dogs, sadly, because the more and more now we're seeing the value and importance of attachment and finding that secure base.
Yes.
And interesting, a lot of the early stuff by kind of John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. Mary Ainsworth never gets talked about enough, really, when it comes to thinking about attachment, because she worked with John Bowlby, but she really was the bigger pioneer of the two in many ways for me. And she took herself off to Africa, in person to see how are you bringing up your children here, because she very much recognized her own cultural bias. And she was seeing a lot of co-regulation. She was seeing a lot of holding space. She was seeing a lot of connection, providing secure base, not,
the mothers being all together, different mums with different kids. Yeah.
That's a very important thing. Everybody, but everybody shared that role to support that child because the most important thing within those communities was a child that was being brought up with connection and care and being able to regulate and being able to feel and show emotion. And that was all great. I think especially over here in the West, we're kind of, especially in Britain, with our stiff upper lip and all that kind of stuff. It's like, like I said, like that lady said to me, you can feel what you like.
Yeah.
Just show it. We were talking off air about the crisis within both of our professions, really.
Yeah.
More keenly in veterinary, of course. But I think there's this notion of, like we discussed before, this kind of notion of professionality. Got to be professional, as though that means you're not allowed to feel anything then.
Exactly.
Or share anything. And I think so. I think it is transformative for people when they have that permission from a professional like yourself with their cat. Think, okay, just recognize that you're struggling with this and there's some truth there, and your cat's trying to say something and they're also trying to work something out from you too. And as I say, the kind of aversive stuff in the dog world, the thing that really upsets me is you're breaking down even more any chance of that connection, of that dog finding safety and finding attachment, because often the big behaviors are a real screaming out of need of some sort. So it's really damaging. But guess what? You can stop the behavior, and if that's all you want to do. But and I do wonder about a lot of the physiological challenges then for these dogs. I'm sure it's the same for cats, where you're still not feeling safe, you're still not getting relief for communication, but now you can't communicate it because you fear the consequences.
Yes.
It's a lot for the internal system, and this brings us back to microbiome again.
And how animals get chronically ill. Because yes, nutrition is always going to be a big pillar of it, but the second one is motion. Emotion is kind of and if they don't feel safe. Now I'm working on trying to understand how development of the kitten is so important to get this safety attachment. I'm reading from human this from humans how this is important to us, but I'm trying to drive this to the kitten's development, because even if we know that we have this neuroplasticity that we can relearn and reconnect and all these things, at the end it's better if we educate people to have it right from the beginning.
That's really important, because
for me it's really important that
because a lot of that initial wiring you're talking about, regardless of the level of neuroplasticity afterwards, it's the filters through which information gets pushed through now. That's
exactly.
And that's where, especially going back to Mary Ainsworth, who took attachment and then created the notion of kind of insecure attachment, the different things, or insecure, ambivalent, insecure disorder.
Exactly. And the same will happen with the cats. So in the end, we should be more aware of this, because it's going to have a permanent damage in a way. You can fix it, you can make it better, but we should start looking into this. And this is something it's neglected in cats. We have less science in cats. We have less awareness in cats. But, well...
Do you think that's because there's this kind of notion that because cats are quite independent and that's on their terms, that they're somehow not being social or not seeking social attachment? But from what I know, once those important boxes have been ticked that we talked about earlier, because they're very important for them, they want that. They seek that. Yes. Yeah, it's important for them.
They enjoy to be... They are always in the same room I am. So and when I'm not in my best place, they are not going to be there. And I better not seek them because I'm not there. So yeah, it's very important. They actually want that. They want to be around others. They understand that this is kind of a way to survive in nature, but they are not too attached. They need to fill the other boxes that you mean, the other motivations first, and then, okay, I'm relaxed, I can be around you, great, and that's it. Yeah.
There's an interesting talk by can't remember the lady's name now, from Bella and Duke.
Oh yeah, I will remember. Okay.
Yeah, don't. But
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting because
Jude McCoy.
Talking about perceiving the cat as the predator, and the cat has to go out and be predatory, as though that's the main kind of driving force. And yet these kind of studies have shown that actually it was the seeking of that species specific food that was the main thing. And if they were having that at home, so obviously there's parts of the world, especially in the UK, where cats are kind of given a bad rap and they're killing all the wildlife, and it's all because the cats are predators, and even though they're being fed at home, they're going out and killing the birds anyway, and it's really bad. Whereas these studies have shown if they have that species specific diet at home and given outlets for some of the predatory sequence, through enrichment, actually they don't kill them, because they're not looking to do that because they have to, because they're cats, because, well, I like that taste of that, and I have to do the predatory bit to get the taste of it. So I thought that was really interesting. And as part of those things that you mentioned at the end, that those cats who were involved in those kind of studies about the shifts and changes of stuff actually became more sociable with the caregivers.
Yes,
because they can now.
Yeah, they were healthy enough to feel safe and around the people. Yeah, exactly. And that's amazing about cats. But they're still counting how many birds and wildlife they are killing every year, and it's nearly impossible to talk to government and say, hey, this is not true. You have the paper, and they go like, no, but we still have to sterilize. We still have to do this. And I say, we need to change the way we're doing it. It's not the best way. But yeah,
it all comes down to what lens you want to look through, because I think that's the key. And I think that was such a compelling presentation for me, because it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It's very easy to think, well, the cat's doing it because they like it and they love it, and they're going to kill birds just because they want it. No,
No.
Because they're seeking something they're not getting at home. And when they got that, they don't have to do it. And I think that's just it's such a simple and obvious thing. But I never thought of that until I'd heard it put across in such a way. I think that's the key.
There's another study that's very interesting, that cats, they say that they reproduce a lot, but it's about resources. If they find a lot of trash and outside, and the people feed them, and they have a lot of resources, they are going to multiply like they usually do. But they're smart enough that if there's not enough resources, they won't. So
Wow.
the problem is that we don't allow them to think or to choose or to do the things that they would naturally do, because we think we know better. This is again and again, it goes away.
I think that's a good place for us to finish, because I think that's a conclusion that many of us, myself included, and others who talk in my Dogs into Care group, and talking about dogs specifically, the conclusion we come to eventually, which is maybe we don't know as much as we think we do, and we have to be humble enough to start thinking about looking at things through the animal's perspective, really, and learning more about their experience. I think part of the problem is when we think about behavior, there's a big part of our communities who think they know about behavior, but in fact they've just learned a lot about how to get animals to behave.
Exactly.
And that's the difference, isn't it? Amaya, great. So where can people find out more about your work? And also we'll make sure we share some the links in the comments on that, and also the work of the RFVS.
Yes, you can find me on Velvet for Cats in English. The it's a feline vet for cats. And soon I'll be switching to amayaespindola.com as well. So anyway, but that's in the near future. So for now, it's Velvet for Cats. And then if you want to reach me on RFVS, if you look rfvs.info, whether that's the website, the Instagram, and everything. So you can look RFVS, and we'll be happy to help you out anytime.
And you have a podcast in Spanish and English now.
Well, now, yes, thank you for reminding me that. I have Heart, Cat, and Soul. It's in English. The podcast I just started it, and I actually like my voice in English, and now I hear myself. I just need to get a little bit better in recording them and more smoothly. But there we are. And there is a lot of topics about cats, and I really go deep into them, and I'll discuss more about all these things that we've been talking today. So Heart, Cat, and Soul, you can find it in every platform. And in Spanish, it's the same thing as Alma, Corazón y Gato, which is the same and translated. Anyway.
It sounded really beautiful in Spanish, I'd say. So we must make sure, please share these episodes in emotional wellbeing and animals. So I think it's important because people want to tap in. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, if anybody's in Mallorca, they might catch you entertaining because you've got an amazing voice, and you go around singing as well. And that's another string to your bow, but we'll perhaps share that another time.
Yeah, you would say, if you say, I know you somewhere. And I will say, as a vet or as a singer?
Yes, the singing vet. That would be a great
singing vet. Yes,
a great series. Yeah. You watching from Channel 5? That would be a good one. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amaya. Great, thank you so much this evening. Thank you for sharing your many kind of passions with us this evening.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoy speaking with you, talking
likewise
about emotional things.
Keep an eye open in the group. We've got some new events coming up soon. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things again now, and also Dog Centre Care's reopening from tomorrow. I've had that on pause for a little bit. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.